Well, good morning. It's good to be with you today as we wrap up Judges. We talked yesterday about how the end of Judges is kind of a commentary on where the people found themselves as the refrain was told us over and over again. Everyone did what was right in their own side, in their own eyes, and what that led to. And the complete disintegration of the people is where it's going to find ourselves. And yesterday we talked about how doing what's right in your own eyes led to the disintegration of the religion, how the people began to bend the religion to suit themselves, and even asking God to bless idols and having a Levite lead in pagan worship, saying God was going to bless it. So we saw yesterday the disintegration of the religious life. Today we're going to see the disintegration of the moral life and the unity of the people. And I want to look big picture at all of this just because it's a lot and it's really best to read these stories together. They all really fit together, and you really sometimes the Bible it's good to I always say context matters, and sometimes you need to read the greater context to really get what's happening. You want to the end of Judges, you want to understand the big picture first. Because understanding the big picture of what's happening here can make the smaller picture make a little bit more sense. And Judges shows us, friends, that a lot of stuff in the Bible not to be emulated, but to be warned against. There's very little happening in Judges, particularly the end of Judges, that we should aspire to follow as Christians. And even the prayers that people pray. One the commentary I was reading, I told you I'm using my Wesley Study Bible. God's kind of just letting them do what they want to because they've gone so far. They've gone so far. So, what we see here in 1920 um, and 21 is basically there's another Levite and he has a concubine, which is his second wife. They had many wives back then. And so that this is his second wife. He's staying. He's in Ephraim again. Um, and he's staying with a host, and this host shows hospitality, almost to the point of like too much hospitality, but it's showing them hospitality and hospitality and hospitality. Finally, he has to leave. Um, and he went and basically was um, a town called Jebus, which is Jerusalem. Said he settled his donkeys when they let us turn aside. See the Jebusites, spend the night there. But his master said they would not turn aside to the foreigners. Would come to Gibbeleth. With Gibbeleth is an Israeli town. It's a Jew or Hebrew town. So they refuse to go to the foreigners. They go to the to Gibeah, which is one of their towns, Benjaminite town, and there in this town, the people come out. They want to sexually assault. And by the way, this is a graphic chapter. They want to sexually assault this person. They don't turn him over. The host doesn't. They take his concubine and he throws her out there and they just rape her repeatedly throughout the night. It's grotesque. It's awful. I would not recommend reading it, frankly. If, I mean, you can read it, but it's a very graphic scene. She dies. I mean, she basically dies with her hands reaching towards the threshold of that home. And the way the scripture tells it, it's almost like she dies. You see some people reaching to the horn of the altar for salvation. You can tell she's almost using her last breath to save herself. It's such a violent act. And then Levite doesn't treat her with kindness, doesn't basically fusses at her then, takes her up, cuts her body into 12 pieces, and sends the 12 pieces out to the 12 tribes and says, we're going to destroy Benjamin. It's one of the most grotesque things I don't know of a more grotesque thing in the Bible. So you have this woman who's violated. Then she's cut up and sent, by the way, by a Levite. a priest of God. And her 12 parts are sent to the 12 tribes, and they attack Benjamin and seek to destroy Benjamin for this act. And so you see intertribal warfare. It ends in chapter 21, where basically Benjamin is saved ultimately, or not completely destroyed. By the way, Saul, who's going to be king, is from Benjamin. Um, and it is the people have morally lost their way. Yesterday we talked about how they have begun to bend their religion to themselves to basically use their religion to get what they want, to satisfy their wants. They've lost a sense of human decency and morality. I'm quote by Niebuhr, um, that basically I'm paraphrasing here, that original sin is the only provable doctrine. Um, I think he says only empirically provable doctrine of the Christian faith. In other words, you can look around and see that people are sinful. You don't have to look far. You can look and see that human sin exists. That there's a brokenness, and you don't have to be, evil is real. We see it in human history. We see it today. And I think one of the things that evil begins to bear fruit, really begins to take up its lodging in our souls, is we live only for when we lose the bonds of human fellowship and love and care and devotion for each other. When we live only for ourselves, all of sin in some ways is birthed in pride. All of sin is birthed in some ways in selfishness. And if I am unconcerned for you in your life, in your happiness, in your health, if you are of no value to me, then whatever happens to you happens to you. This is this is a danger for us, friends. We need to be. This is why those of you who hear me preach know I love to make fun of Facebook and how we all go on Facebook and fuss. One of our greatest dangers that we face in this world right now is how do we think of those? How do we think about those with whom we disagree? Do you regard the people who disagree with you politically as fully human? What words? What words do you use to describe those who disagree with you politically? What words do you use to describe those who disagree with you religiously? If we stop seeing our fellow humans as fellow humans and see them as subhuman or beneath us, that then I don't think we're going to go where the Levite went and where the story went. But friends, it starts in small degrees. And we need to guard our heart. They did what was right in their own eyes, and it spun their society into complete and utter moral chaos and utter moral destruction. They lost their way because they thought only of what was right for them and in their eyes. And friends, morality calls us, our holiness as Christians calls us to look beyond and to lay down our rights for each other, to bear each other's burdens, to care for one another, to be there for one another, to love each other, to sacrifice for each other, to regard each other with esteem and care, whether the person you're esteeming is lost or saved, whether they're a Christian or non-Christian, whether they agree with you, whether they don't agree with you. They're made in the image of God. They're made in the image of God, and they are worthy of love and respect. They lost that in Judges. And that's why I think Judges is a pretty good moral cautionary tale for us in our time. Because in this age of individualism, this age of the internet, this age of me doing what I want to do when I want to do it, it's very easy for me to do what's right in my own eyes and to lose the love that I'm supposed to have for you. So this is a difficult chapter to read. It's a difficult chapter to read, but it shows ultimately the fruit that's born when we do what's right in our own eyes only. And when we stop caring what God thinks and stop caring about the other person, we make the bed of our own destruction. And that's what happened here. So that's Judges. It's a hard read in the end, but I think it's an important read for us to understand what sin does to us and to our communities. So, hey, thanks for being with us. Tomorrow we're going to pick up with the Psalm. We'll do a Psalm tomorrow. Now that we're through with Judges, and then we'll pick up with the New Testament book next week. So, I'd love to hear what you think where we're going next. But we'll pick up with a Psalm tomorrow. Have a great day. See you then.